So as we start, I'd just like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the various lands on which we gather. I'm on Meanjin or Brisbane, Yagara and Turrbal people's land. I'd like to pay respect to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the important roles that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples play in relation to the land, sky and waterways that are so important for outdoor activities. If you'd like to, you can pop in the chat where you're coming from today, or even if you want to just say it out loud where you're joining us, that'd be great. And I'd also acknowledge the funding that the Queensland government contributes, and it's more than just the funding that's provided, the support for outdoor activities across the state, and the support for Outdoors Queensland and all the work that government departments and ministers do in relation to outdoor activities, which includes our good friends at Sport and Recreation within the Department of Tourism, Innovation and Sport and Recreation. So welcome to our 5th episode of Coffee and Conversation for this year. As most of you know, my name's Dom Courtney. I'm the Executive Officer of Outdoors Queensland. Big welcome. As I said, the recordings are going to be available on our website, on YouTube. But you feel free to ask questions as we go along today. Got a little bit of an outline of a few different opportunities and a little bit about COVID-19, but I think we're almost moving on from the world of COVID, even though we keep hearing about hospitalisations, etc., happening again. But yeah, we'll just go through a little bit on the world of COVID as well. If there's any particular topic you want to talk about for future sessions, just let me know. Yeah, but as we go along, feel free to speak up. On the COVID world, and I'll just pop some links in the chat as we go along as well. This is the traffic light system that the Queensland government's got in place. It's still at green, which is great, but it's still got those, wear a mask if required, and also take the appropriate protocols, which haven't changed really for probably, I think it was in October last year when the actual public health emergency ended. So these are still the same protocols that are in place to keep Queensland safe, which seems like common sense now, I think, most of those things. But the big one, I think, is stay home if you're unwell and get tested, and keep vaccinations up to date. So nothing much changed there. And similarly, with the Education Queensland rules, that one hasn't changed for quite a while now. I think it was since January. I haven't updated it. So I'll just pop that in the chat anyway. But yeah, it's just the same website with the same information on there about excursions and school camps, basically saying you've got to do risk assessments and consider infection control measures just in case anyone develops symptoms of COVID or other illness. So yeah, it does say camps can happen, just got to consider it first and take the right measures. Yeah, so that's sort of it. Does anyone have any questions on any of the current COVID situation? I think there has been a string of increased infections in particularly, I think, Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria seem to have a few more hospitalisations numbers going up a little bit recently, but doesn't seem to be any great panic or concern out there. So yeah, I don't know if there's any questions, if anyone has any or comments on that one.
Well, what is the actual current ruling on events in terms of, if someone actually has COVID there now, gets at an event? Is it just isolation procedures or?
Yeah. It's basically, it's come to now, I think it's really more about personal responsibility for an event organiser to actually have in place, like to inform people attending the event of what they should do even before they turn up. But the big message is those I think it's 6 things on this slide. Those ones, I think if you shared, probably other than the vaccination one, because it's not really up to event organisers now unless you choose to make it a vaccination only, and I don't think too many would. All the others are, test for COVID if you're unwell, stay home if you're sick, maintain physical distancing, which is actually relatively easy for us in our outdoor world. And the good hand hygiene, I don't think any of that's particularly difficult now. But if someone turns up and they're unwell to an event, I think it's more about saying, well, these are the recommended protocols. So, yeah, I don't think there's a lot that you really need to do as far as holding an event, but it's more about just having those practices in place and making sure things are done.
So does that mean that we still got to have like the hygiene measures as like the wipes and the sanitizers at every checkpoints and locations?
Yeah, I think it's what's reasonable in the circumstances, really, Catherine. Like it's some of it can be up to the people, but it depends on your event. Like imagine for a track event, a trail running event, no one's going to want to carry too much of that stuff other than maybe a small bottle of hand sanitizer or something like that. But it's really about what is appropriate. I think it might be different for a school camp operator where they've got a ute full of gear for a checkpoint or, that sort of thing. So it really depends what you're doing, especially, where you are and what's appropriate, I think. Yeah. But yeah, I think, they're pretty broad, just that 6 little icons there, but they do cover off on a lot. Yeah. Unless anyone has any other ones, we'll just keep on rolling along. Laurie just popped in the chat. It's more about the workplace health and safety laws. Because the public health emergency's finished. So it's really about keeping people safe in your work environment, and that includes, I guess, from anyone from an event organizer and that side of things. So.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm saying to my guys. It's doing all that's reasonably possible to protect you and your participants, and that's really where WHS kicks in. So even though we're not prescribed, that's really what you got to answer to if there's a problem, or you have a case.
Yeah,
Dom, I have to just say congratulations. I'm just looking at who's here, and go the girls. It's so great to see so many females on here. It's wonderful. Sorry, I just had to say, I'll shut up now.
No need to shut up at all. I concur, to be honest. So it's awesome. So moving along, the sport and rec funding. They've got a few. Queensland Sport and Rec have got a few. I've just put in the chat the link to their to that website, but they've got a few open programs at the moment, including the Fair Play vouchers, and their disaster recovery program still open for anyone who needs it. But the other one that's open at the minute is the emerging athlete pathways, and we don't normally talk about this a lot, but it does have some relevance. It's not just sporting athletes; it's also within the outdoors world. So they've got it right now. You can, if you're an event organizer, you can nominate events if you qualify for that. And they're generally about state, national, and international events. So you can nominate on their website an event that will then attract funding for young athletes and coaches and officials to attend that event. So it's worth having a look at that and having a look at the details on their website, because it might make it easier for people from particularly regional areas to attend an event. So just wanted to flag that one, that it's open at the moment. They're asking for nominations for events between July and September, and then nominations for any events after September aren't open yet, but they'll bring that up later on. So just wanted to flag that one because it is something that they call for events every 3 months. So for the October to December events, they'll do that closer to then. So if you want anything on that, I've got an email address on that. I'll pop that in the chat as well. It's just bear with me. it's worth having a look at. And this is the emerging athlete pathway. Just pop that in the chat, so it is there. Yeah, so they're quite keen to help people if you have any queries about that one. The next one, Laurie, I don't know if the next couple you might want to comment on, the domestic commercial review, the vessel review. The Outdoor Council of Australia, we had a meeting about this with the independent panel that's doing this review in late March. It was a really good meeting, and at the meeting they said they would be releasing a draft report in the next few weeks. We haven't seen that yet, so we're still waiting on that draft report. It was pretty positive what came out of the meeting, but we haven't actually got the draft report yet, so the updated report. So we'll certainly let everyone know once we've got that. Laurie, did you want to add anything on that one?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It'd be great to see a report if coming in, but yeah, it's been a really great process, as Dom said, and we actually reached out to the Minister's office because we were concerned that this hasn't really been widely promoted as a program that our industry is fully aware of. So if, and this goes to all of your members, Dom, if they do have any interaction with AMSA staff on this program, get them to certainly reach out to yourself, and we'll filter it through OCA into the Minister's office, because they've certainly heard our cries to say, why are we included in a program that's really primarily focused on big vessels, shipping? This whole review has come about because I believe someone had fallen off a fishing vessel, and so that sparked this. But all of a sudden, I think they're even shocked to realize that kayaks and canoes were part of this. Yeah. So please reach out to Dom if you've had any interaction or you're disadvantaged by this program, because we'll certainly take it up higher.
Yeah, that's a good message. Thanks, Laurie, because it is about us understanding what's going on in that space. If anyone is basically at the moment, if you're using a kayak or canoe for commercial purposes, you are under the regulations from AMSA, which is a little bit strange, which is what we've expressed in our submission to the panel, and they've certainly heard us. But yeah, it's about there's going to be a time lag between whatever comes out from their report when that gets enacted. So we're trying to make sure in the meantime that no one's caught in the wash from the regulation of the large shipping world. We don't really want to be caught up in that space. So we're trying to manage that as well and make sure that it's not disadvantaged through that unintended consequences. So yeah, but let me know if there's any dramas, anyone has any problems on that space. Happy to wade into that one as well. The next one, again, Laurie, about your summit at Lennox Head, 28th to 30th of June. Laurie gave us a bit of an update at the last one of these sessions, but do you want to add anything more today? I know your early bird tickets closed today.
Yeah, well, I've got some good news, and it's only because 3 government departments have been on the phone to me going, approvals are still in process. We've got an extension of a week for the early bird. So that gives everyone a little bit of a chance if they haven't booked their tickets yet. I'll put the link into the chat that gives you more information about the summit, but I've offered Dom and his members access to members rates. So that means that you can attend a 2-day amazing summit on all things obstacles and challenges in the outdoors, and we're trying to solve them while we're in the summit. So I think it'll be a great opportunity for all of your members as well to access that for a total of $250. So it'd be great. The whole program is now on that website, so if you keep scrolling down, you'll see all of the different topics. And in true summit form, we're getting people at the table to discuss the hardcore issues that we need to jump through or jump over to solve for the future. Yeah. So any questions, happy to answer, but jump in and hopefully we'll see you there, because it's up closer to your border than anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's about 2.5 hours drive from Brisbane, so that's even better for those on the Gold Coast, etc. So yeah, it's nice and close to us, and it'll be a good gathering. So yeah, thanks, Laurie, and thanks for that offer of the early bird option for Outdoors Queensland members as well. So if anyone needs that early bird option, just let me know, and I can send you the link to that that web page that Laurie and her team have created. So any questions for Laurie on that one? Oh, all good. Thanks, Laurie. And speaking of conferences and summits, Outdoors Victoria have also got their conference, which is a couple of weeks after Laurie's. I think it's it is the 13th and 14th of July. So I told Andrew Knight from Outdoors Vic that I'd give them a bit of a plug. They've also got an early bird. Their early bird tickets also close next week. It's all happening. And they're also happy to extend they've got a reciprocal thing going. If you're a member of Outdoors Queensland, you can access their discount rates as well. So that one's, I think it's got it on the screen there. Yeah, they've got a few different, 4 different streams, outdoor ed, outdoor learning, health and wellbeing, camps and outdoor providers, and then a stream on nature and climate as well. So they've got a range of different speakers, and there's a lot of info on their website. I'll just pop the link there in the chat, so feel free to have a look at that. That one's at, I think it's Box Hill TAFE, just in regional Victoria, so, or Lilydale, there it is, sorry. I have a feeling that's the same thing, but I'm not sure. It is, yeah. I don't know why they have to use different names for things. We'd never do that. We just keep it.
One and the same.
Yeah, cool. But yeah, if you want any more info on that one, just check out their website. And yeah, I'm sure they'd be happy to help on that as well. The Australian Mountain Bike Trail Guidelines. So this is a resource that it was originally developed by Mountain Bike Australia, which is now under the Oz Cycling badge. They were originally hard copy, you had to purchase the guidelines, but Oz Cycling have actually made these trail guidelines now free to download. So Craig Meneke from Blue Sky Trails, who's one of our members, he was the original editor of these guidelines and has been involved for quite a while. He'll probably join us in another session to talk about their trail guidelines. And also Oz Cycling are going to have a webinar to discuss it, so we'll let people know about that. But yeah, it's really good to see that they're making those available as a free resource now. So I think it's a good thing to let people know, particularly it was always you had to buy them. So I think that probably restricted the number of organisations that access those guidelines, but they're a valuable resource. So it's good to see they're now free. I've downloaded them. I haven't quite gone through them as much as I should have. So I'll be having a look at them in the next little while. So just wanted to flag that. And they're on that, the link in the chat there. The next one there, the Brisbane 2032 Legacy Plan. It's going to be the draft Legacy Plan will be released during May. There was an update on the website. They previously said they'd release it during April. So I went to the Legacy Forum in March representing Outdoors Queensland there, and it was a really positive day. So really hoping that'll help shape the Brisbane 2032 Legacy Plan, as well as the submissions through the surveys that they've done and the other community consultation on this one. That the really big message out of that forum, and this info is also on their website, but they were talking about the benefits to society now and into the future well beyond the game. So the Legacy Plan itself, they're talking as a time frame of to 2042, so 10 years beyond the game, of what could the legacy of the games, Paralympics and Olympics be. And it'll be well worthwhile to provide more feedback on that draft plan, because I think we want to influence that and make sure the benefits flow through to all of society, including the outdoors. So once that's released, we'll certainly put it out there and let people know. But yeah, I think it'll be a good opportunity to comment on that. There were some interesting ideas come up during the forum itself, including a connected trail network across all of southeast Queensland was one of the suggestions, which they started already deciding to brand the legacy trail, I think was the wording used, and that's come out in some of their correspondence since then. So it'll be interesting to see what comes up and how workable they make it, and what they look at doing as a legacy of the games. So yeah, it was certainly a good process. Interesting way to spend a day talking about what's going to happen beyond up to 2042. So yeah, a bit of a change in focus. Just skip that one. I just wanted to flag Health and Wellbeing Queensland's Better Choice Conference and Expo. So this is the end of this month, so Tuesday the 30th of May, and it's all about healthier food and drinks in schools, sport and recreation settings. So they're really trying to make an effort from the nutrition side of things into sport and recreation, and also the schools. So there's been a lot of work done with tuck shops in Queensland to improve healthy options in that space. But this is really about trying to expand that out to particularly, I think, the world of sports, where we might know that some of the canteens out there don't serve up the best possible food options every time. But I think there's a bit of work going on in that space to try to improve that as well. And then they're also making efforts to include recreation in that. Trying to provide different ideas on what might be available and what will work for our network as well. So, and one of the things they actually are actively doing is trying to use this conference to basically show off what some people in sporting, school and recreation areas are doing to make healthy options available in their food that they're providing. So it's pretty cheap that day of I think it's about $50 or something like that for the conference for the day. So there's information on their website. I'll just pop that in the chat as well. Yeah, I encourage you to have a look at that one if you're interested in that, as far as what food and drink might be provided. I don't think we've got anyone from inside the outhouse here today. I'm not seeing David or Pete. No. Anyway, they've certainly had a session recently. I didn't get to join. It was the week before last, but they were talking about what role failure plays in outdoor education and the educational value of failing every now and again, which I think would be an interesting session. So I'm looking forward to checking out the recording of that session and seeing what they came up with within the outhouse. Also wanted to just flag the range of different resources available on our website, our e-news, which I'm hoping all of you subscribe to, and also our social media. I did with a group of friends over the weekend, just gone, we did a 50-kilometre section of the Brisbane Valley Rail Trail, which was terrific. And I noticed as we went along, we posted this on the Facebook page for Outdoors Queensland yesterday or the day before, came across a sign acknowledging that they won a Queensland Outdoor Recreation Award in 2006 or 7, I think it was, for the first 30-odd kilometre section of the Brisbane Valley Rail Trail. And it's still up there on a couple of signs acknowledging that they won this award for that first section of the trail before the rest of the 161-kilometre trail even got built. So it's terrific to see that acknowledgement up there on there. So it's really good to see that trail there. I've still got sore feet. I've got my from the 50k walk, but it was worth it. I enjoyed it. And Catherine's sitting there going, "It's only 50k's. What are you talking about?" But that's all right. Yeah, I did also want to mention, and this one's I think relevant for everyone in the outdoors. I don't know if you can see that little blemish on the side of my head. I actually had a skin cancer removed yesterday, a nasty one on the side of my head. So I just wanted to flag too, as maybe it's my little public service announcement, but probably for everyone engaged in the outdoors as far as the importance of skin checks, I think it might be worthwhile a little reminder for everyone out there that, you know, that it's an important part of keeping ourselves safe as well, is a regular skin check. And I'm lucky, I think my doctor picked this up and sent me off for a decent check. So I've had that removed yesterday, and now it's just a matter of recovering from being under the knife. Laurie just popped in the Cancer Council. Yeah, I think it is an important thing to bring up every now and again. And Laurie mentioned before, we've got plenty of females joining us today, and I don't know, but it seems to me that maybe the blokes out there need to get a bit better at regular medical attention, etc. I'm not trying to use gender stereotypes, but it took a little bit of encouragement from my lovely partner to get me to go and do a skin check and catch this before it was too late. So yeah, just wanted to flag that it's a good thing to go and do on a regular basis, and we probably should prioritise it a little bit better. Well, that's me speaking from personal experience anyway. So yeah, I think it's important part. You got a bit of a campaign going at the moment, Laurie?
It's like you read my mind when you said that, because it was like literally this was only launched this week by New South Wales Cancer, the Minister for obviously health, but through the Cancer Institute here in New South Wales. So there you go.
Well, they must have heard that I was going under the knife, so they wanted to start a campaign.
It's a great video too that they've actually shared, so it might be something that everyone can take advantage of, even though it's got New South Wales on.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've still got the badge, unfortunately, of being the skin cancer capital of the world. So I think it needs a joint effort, right, to try to address it and get on top of it. And I do have to say, as much as I was dreading going under the knife, it was a pretty painless procedure and just the recovery. Although I did sneeze this morning, which reminded me that I had the bit missing from my cheek. So yeah, but hopefully I'll just come out of it with a really cool scar and everything else will be sweet. So yeah. Yeah. Does anyone have any other comments, questions, discussion points? We've got plenty of time. No?
I've just got one for Laurie, if I may.
Go for it, Claire.
I was just looking at the agenda for your conference. So is there any value of horse riders attending this conference?
Horse riders, good question. Certainly land access, because we've got the land access panel, and it probably doesn't matter across borders because they've got very similar processes about access, whether it be Crown land, national parks, or we've also got a Forestry Corp on there as well. So that certainly would be a good topic for you. There is also the discussion around insurance, which I think you might find quite interesting, because it does tap on all activities in the outdoors and the risk areas that are identified that do not support insurances coming on board. So the more we understand about the risks that they don't like, the more we can address them. Let me think, the other things, and I should look at the agenda, which probably helped me. Certainly the state of the industry panel, which John was going to be at, to talk about.
Don't use me to promote you to Summit, Laura. You might be driving people away.
the federal perspective on what's happening at a federal level, which Outdoor Council of Australia, which Dom and I sit on, and Dom's president of, is only one of 5 that will be presenting there, and seeing where each of the areas of the industry can benefit from the activities that are happening federally. The accreditation, probably not so much. Training, not so much. The the risk area, definitely. Data is the other one. We've got a great conversation with data, and that will look at certainly mapping exercises and new innovations that have come into our sector and what's available now. I think a lot of the stuff that's coming up, it's been kept secret. So I'm trying to get those content and pieces to this summit. And that's also including the old systems like uploads and the likes of those. The labour agreement, I don't know if you're a volunteer or if you've got staff, but that labour keeps coming up as a huge issue in the industry right across all the different areas. And the session on that one, it'll be looking at tips and tools around that. Other than that, your keynotes are very relevant for you. So the keynotes are around individual input into what we drive as an outcome for the industry, and also demographic shifts, social needs, where that fits in what people want to do in the outdoors. And of course, the weather. We've got the Bureau of Meteorology coming. So that one I'm really excited about, because we've been trying to hammer them to come on to talk about the climate shifts and what we should be looking for with tools and resources that they have to help us predict better, our outdoor activities, but also, what have we got to sort of budget for as well? Because, we know the climate shifting. So if there's more days that we're not going to be able to access the outdoors, we've got to consider that in our thinking. She's also going to address our lightning concern, which we have at the moment. I don't know if you know much about that, but there's some US research that has come out that basically does not recommend the 30-30 rule or the crouch position anymore, because they felt that it was a mixed message. They're trying to drive everyone indoors when there's lightning. That conflicts with where Australia sits. So we'll get her to address that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure, Claire.
Just a couple of things there, Claire, that might be relevant.
Just a couple.
yeah. But, and if anyone does need that, just let me know, because Laurie's given me a separate link to be able to get the discount rate for Outdoors Queensland members. So just zip me an email or just let me know and I can send it through to you. Alrighty. Did anyone else want to raise any issues? I don't think that was a hand up, Catherine. You just scratching
No.
you almost just won the house at the auction.
Dom, did you want me to share the new link for the NatCore workshops?
Oh, I haven't got them yet.
Okay, here you go.
Oh,
I only got it late last night, so because I asked for it, so she said she's get it out. There you go.
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't put it on the agenda today, because I didn't have the information to share. So NatCore are running some risk and crisis workshops coming up. So thanks for that, Laurie. Yeah, and I will certainly publicise those. They're running here in Brisbane I think it's 28th and 29th of July. It's the end of July anyway. So they're aimed at different parts of organisations. So for senior management, and then for program delivery are different on different days, because they're slightly different considerations, I guess, to consider. Considerations to consider doesn't make sense, but anyway, slightly different considerations when you're looking at the planning. We'll certainly share some more information, but thanks for sharing that, Laurie. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Can I be so bold too? I don't know if anyone online is in nature therapy, but we've just asked one of the universities here in New South Wales to do a bit of a study on nature therapy and how we can look at the options of, well, as everyone knows, when you've got medicine, you've got PBS that supports some of the rebates in medicine. You know, what have we got to do in the way of nature therapy to get it considered in green scripts? So would love people's thoughts if you're in that space and you're really passionate about it. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind just filling out that survey for the uni to look
Terrific.
at.
Thanks, Laurie.
That's just Jason here. Sorry, my internet's quite bad here, so I apologise for that to start with. That's interesting. I've just talking to Dom before we started. I've just come across from Red Cross Australia and finishing up missions through Libya and so on. I'm just looking at bringing getting into that adventure therapy space. So I've got a background in adventure racing and counselling and of course engineering. But yeah, that's what that's what I jumped in here for, was a sticky beacon, just to see what Queensland felt about that adventure therapy, what sort of space is available, and what whether the industry is taking it seriously yet or not. And one of the things, I'm up on the sunny coast now, and I've been here for 30 odd years and it's a perfect space for it, but I'd love to sort of talk to leaders like yourself about what's available and how can we move forward with this, because I see it as a key role in mental health, especially with the youth.
Yep.
Totally agree with you, Jason. Yeah, it's been an interesting one because I keep hearing it's emerging, it's the biggest growing area, and I couldn't see it. So I started chatting to the university and they said, oh, let us do a bit of a project on it. So they started digging. The more they dug, the more they found. So it's just one of those sectors that it's spread so far and wide, but it hasn't actually morphed into the voice, if I can put it that way. So it's actually been really misunderstood and doesn't have a large voice behind it as yet. So that's why we're doing this project, so that we can bring it into OCA and support that with the likes of Outdoor Health Australia, who was ABAT, but also for my members, I've got a lot of nature therapists that are members of mine, as I'm sure Dom does. So supporting that area of the sector, this report will help us understand it a little bit better.
Yeah, and there's a bit of work going on in that space across Queensland as well, particularly in relation to the Mental Health Commission of how does adventure therapy fit into that space as a treatment modality, I think is the health wording, but how does it fit together? But also in our space, we talk quite often about the sort of 4 broad pillars of outdoor activities being the outdoor education, the outdoor recreation, the nature-based tourism, and the adventure therapy side of things. So it's certainly, that part of that. And there's also talk right now about developing formally recognised qualifications for adventure therapy, because that's the other thing that has been identified is workers in that space. Some have the health qualifications, some have the outdoor qualifications, the counselling side of things sorted, some have both, but not everyone has the same sort of qualifications. So there's a bit of work being done in the background in that space as well. So there's certainly a lot going on in that area.
And that's exactly what I'm finding is that my partner, she's got a master's in psychology, I've got a diploma in counselling. I've been doing adventure racing and working in war zones for 20 years, but when I step into that space, my skill sets on paper fall short with some of the the kayaking certificates, the abseiling certificates, and things like that. And then what I'm looking at as well is that you're taking a group of youth, particularly youth, into a space. It might be a 2 or 3 day event. What spaces are available in our community that can be safe, and then how do we determine the level of safety? How we do the risk analysis on that? So I'm really looking for some tools to get in there. I mean, Tassie's are great. There's a couple of guys that I link up with down in Tassie that they seem to be a bit of a leader in it, but and New South Wales and Victoria, even WA, where I think the information I can find, Queensland seems to be, I hate to say it, a little bit lacking, but maybe that's just my research skills.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all, we've tried to sort of harmonise it a bit recently, Jason, but that's good feedback as far as that side of things. There is the Australian Adventure Activity Standards and good practice guides that do apply to whatever reason for going outdoors for any adventure activities. You know, it's covered by those guides, which are voluntary, but they're there as a source of good practice as well. So they're certainly worth a look at in that space. But yeah, there's a few different people right now who are doing a bit of work in this space. So I'll be happy to link you up with them too, even if you just want to send me an email, and I can hook you up with a couple of people you might want to speak to who I'm sure would be happy to share. So I'll just pop my email address in the chat as well. So
that'd be great, because that's exactly where, like, I mean, that's where I think, you know, and you know, I've worked in government and other organisations. So the bigger animals in the industry seem to be a little bit less reactive, and I think there is the business sector is sort of wanting to push forward very quickly, and I think the industry itself's probably not as quick to react. But yeah, no, that'd be perfect, Don.
Yeah. Oh, and Claire's just popped in one there for equine psychotherapy as well.
Cheers.
Yeah, they actually have quite a good training course available.
Yep.
To become a equine or animal assisted practitioner.
Yeah.
Or animal assisted psychotherapy, etc. They've been doing that for a number of years, so that might be a good place to also contact in relation to any surveys as well.
Cool. Thanks, Claire. And yeah, we'll certainly share that the survey that you've just popped in there as well, Laurie. That's great. Yeah. So happy to.
We're talking about qualifications. One thing that came up in my session this morning, which I thought might be handy for your guys to know, wilderness first aid in its evolution and some of the core modules being superseded does not include the CPR module anymore. So if organisations need the CPR qual, wilderness first aid will need to be added to a CPR module to get their requirements, which I wasn't aware of. I don't know if you were.
There was a big discussion about first aid, even within the Cert 3 and Cert 4 in outdoor leadership. They used to be included as units, but they changed it because it was to do with because they're in other training packages, and there was some confusion around if the method got updated at any point, then you have to actually review the whole outdoor training package to update it. So they've just referenced other units, and that actually confused people as well, because they're going, hang on, we need first aid. And it's like, yeah, but that's interesting if wilderness first aid isn't including CPR as a normal part of its course. I would have just assumed it'd be there too.
That's right. The module's called first aid. So they do a little bit of CPR, but they don't actually do the CPR qual.
Certified, yeah. Wow.
So
Okay.
FYI.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Laurie. All right.
I've just got one thing, Dom. I was going to email you. Is the privacy and social media rules and legislation has changed just recently. Do you have any links or information that you can forward us on what we've got to do as far as holding data of members and things like that?
Yeah, I don't think they've released the final report yet, or the final. Yeah, I don't think they've updated any legislation. They closed. We put a submission in, so there was some stuff in it about changes to expand. There used to be an exemption for small business, which includes clubs and non-profit organisations. They're going to remove that exemption, or this was the proposal, but I haven't seen the final outcome yet. And they're going to make all organisations needing to comply with the federal privacy legislation. So I haven't seen the final result yet, but we put in a submission saying that if that does happen, and they said this in their report, if that was going to happen, they would work very much, put in a package to inform organisations about the changes and make sure they work, and even provide resources to have a big education program, because it'll make a big difference. So
Oh, yes.
they have
definitely.
committed to that sort of stuff, but I haven't seen the outcome yet. The other piece that they said was it was about having to seek consent from kids as well as from adults, which is an interesting thing. They haven't had to do that in the past. So it was a bit of, even if you've got consent from an adult to take a photo of a kid, or to store a child's personal details, they're proposing it's in line with the international rights of the child information, where you should actually ask the child as well, like give the child a voice in these sort of things. And they said, particularly if they're 15, 16, 17, where they're in a position that they can make a decision on their own image, then you should be doing that. So there's a bit of work about that. And it was actually quite reasonably common sense what they were asking about once you dig into it. But yeah, so that there should be if they're going to bring it in, there should be a lot of information coming through, and we'll certainly share that once we've got it, because but I think it was only slated to come in, I think they said 1 July next year at the earliest.
Okay.
So, yeah.
No, we've just been questioned about it, about how we're, with our photos and things and our social media and what we put up. And I just,
Oh, at the moment, even for Outdoors Queensland, we, as a small business, we actually don't have to comply with the Australian privacy legislation, but we opt to do it. So we've said we'll comply with the privacy principles. So, our policy is that we just go a little bit above and beyond. And that means when this does change, it shouldn't be any major changes for us. But yeah, it's about becoming aware of what that actually looks like once we've got it, once it comes in and applies to everyone.
Excellent. Thanks for that.
No worries. Well, if we don't have anything else, we might finish up there. Our next session will be the first Friday in June. So thanks everyone for joining us today. Thanks to all the Outdoors Queensland members, volunteers and staff who do what we do. We'll just sign off with please be kind to the planet, be kind to others, and be kind to yourselves, and don't forget to get skin checks.